All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read-alouds there will brighten their day.
Beautiful people, welcome to the Teacher Lady Speaks. I'm Erica M. Burrell, the Teacher Lady, your fairy godparent when it comes to sharing joyful stories and growing young minds. Here, we use my experience teaching tiny humans to help enhance yours through resources, insight, and honest reflection from a well-seasoned educator, who understands just how hard love work can be. So this playlist is applicable for teachers, parents, caregivers, anybody in between that is trying their best to do right by their little. You can think of this episode like a lesson plan that wraps up our week. It's here to answer the honest question, how do I get my child to get it, whatever it may be? That's where I come in. All right, now to this week's topic. So this week, all week, we have been talking about how to celebrate Black history and Black culture and racism and slavery, why they are not the same thing. We had two phenomenal resources that we utilized to be able to do that this week. The first one was What Would the World Be Without Black People? Written and illustrated by me, Erica M. Burrell. Hey, this story covers a bit of racism, but a whole lot of Black joy and celebration. The second read aloud was an American story written by Kwame Alexander, illustrated by Dare Coulter. That book focuses on the journey of slavery. This week's theme. We started things off with two amazing read alouds. There are also two in-depth book reviews on the Behind the Book playlist, where we go beyond the pages to get to the heart of the story. Today, we're wrapping it all up with the Teacher Lady Speaks, a crash course on how to properly discuss Black history, Black culture, and racism and slavery, and how to make sure they are never viewed as the same thing. All right, you ready? Let's grow. Explaining this topic to a 5-year-old. If I were explaining these things to a 5-year-old, I'd start with a story. Let's say your 5-year-old's name is Laura. I'd say, Laura, let's pretend it's your birthday. And what do you do on your birthday? Yeah, of course. You celebrate. We usually have a party. It's usually fun. It's a time to see how much you've grown and to acknowledge you. So let's say at your birthday party, where everybody is there to celebrate you, people keep getting on the microphone and saying all the bad things that have happened to you. And they're not saying it in this way that says, Laura, you've been through so much, but you're still here doing an amazing job. They're saying, do you remember when Billy bullied you? Do you remember? Do you remember when he hurt you? Do you remember when he was like taking your lunch money? Do you remember when he was stealing your lunch box? Do you remember when he threw dirt at you? Do you remember when he was picking on your best friend and there was nothing you can do? Do you remember when you went to go tell teachers and the teachers didn't help you? Do you remember having anxiety? Do you remember being angry and scared and nervous? Do you remember he took your permission slip so you didn't get to go on the field trip like everybody else? Do you remember he made everybody else hate you too for no reason? Do you remember all the pain and agony and anguish that your mom experienced because your mom was bullied by his mom too, and even his dad, and your dad was hurt too? Do you remember all the things that happened that were bad to you and that were painful and that made you scared and upset? Do you remember that? I know it's your birthday party. I get it. Happy birthday. But do you remember that? Do you remember all the pain and hurt? Oh, happy birthday. I'd start off with that story. Whenever I start off with that analogy with children, it throws them completely off. It kind of confuses them, okay? And the reason why it confuses them is because we're typically able to recognize that when we're celebrating somebody, it is their accomplishments. It is in good faith. it is joyful, and it is exciting. That is typically how we celebrate people. There is an exception when it comes to Black people. This country has a very difficult time celebrating Black history, acknowledging Black culture, while simultaneously putting blame where blame is due for racism and slavery. So when we open it up in that way, you're able to start the uncomfortable but necessary conversation around why. That's so odd. It's Black History Month, a month where we're like, oh my gosh, look at all these amazing things Black people have done. They've done so much. I'm so amazed by them. I'm so excited for what they've contributed. The dances and the food. I love Black culture. I appreciate it. There are things in my life that I've taken from Black culture. And then you disrupt that. But they were slaves. They were slaves. You remember when they were slaves? They were slaves. They were in chains. They're different. Each one of these things are, all right? Because words are important and they do have meaning. Here we go. Black history is the history of Black American people, all right? Now, slavery itself, in terms of snatching people, putting them into horrible situations, killing them, hurting them, harming them, kidnapping them, that's American history. We didn't do that to ourselves. That's not Black history. That's American history. Now, the processes in which we rebelled, Nat Turner, the processes in which we were creative about escape, Harriet Tubman, the processes in which we went into our civil rights, Fannie Lou Hamer, that process of being removed from that, our advocacy, our protesting, our marching, that is Black history and worth shining an appropriate light on. If you're having these conversations in your classroom and you are highlighting activists, Frederick Douglass, you're highlighting writers, James Baldwin, you are highlighting people who are connected to American history, because how do we get here? But you're highlighting their talents and their resilience and their efforts in a way that is uplifting. You're doing a good job. Good job, you. Okay. All right. Good job, you. That is Black history. Then you have Black culture. Black culture are the things that allow you to identify Black people as Black people. Now, although we are not a monolith, there are things that we do that we have created that help to unite us. Some examples of Black culture might be the electric slide, a popular dance, state to state, city to city, that Black people just know how to do. We got the rhythm to do it, most of us. If y'all ain't got the rhythm, we love you too. But you get the point. It's an element of Black culture. Hoop earrings, hoop gold earrings, it's an element of Black culture. Head wraps, an element of Black culture. Music, the way that we make music, the way that we hear drums, the way that we teach students through rhythm, that is an element of Black culture. Jordan sneakers, an element of Black culture. Okay, there are so many elements: food, music, cinema, books. There are so many elements of Black culture. The culture is what makes us us. They are the things that identify that group of people as that group of people. That is culture. Then you have racism. It is the mistreatment, the active mistreatment of a group of people. And in this case, we're talking about Black people based on them being Black people. Okay. Then there is slavery. And slavery is a result of so much greed, capitalism, insecurities, jealousy. But let me stay focused. It is a result of racism. Do you understand? I'm using my sociology degree today, baby. Racism had people justify going to somebody else's home, continent, country, village, whatever else we referred to it as, snatch those people, brought them to a foreign place, made them work under inhumane conditions, killing them and punishing them and putting fear in them. That is slavery. That's slavery. Now, this book also touches on the resistance, the resilience, the growth. There's so much culture. But if you're talking about joy and celebration, bring it over here. And if you are talking about American history based in racism and slavery, bring it over there. That should be enough for you to chew on. I know it's a lot. I've been doing this a long time. I've been teaching this subject to children for a long time, because the biggest challenge is for children who are taught simple things are right and wrong. You don't take people's stuff without asking. Raise your hand before you disrupt. If you see somebody who needs help, be a friend and help them. Children are taught such basic concepts about how to be a good person that it becomes hard for their little innocent minds to imagine a world that is so harsh towards the people that built this country up on stolen land. All right? Okay. Now, we're going to break down what is required to teach in schools, because a lot of times parents won't touch uncomfortable conversations. They won't go study. They won't go look into it because they feel like, look, the school got it. That's why I send them to class. Let's give a general idea of what your child might be exposed to in the state of California for grades K through 8. California is a more advanced state, and there is no K through 8 requirement to teach explicitly on racism and slavery and the impact that it's had on this country and those people. The state does have a recommendation to include diversity within the curriculum. It is very, very general. There's nothing specified, and it's not mandatory. In high school, which is way too late to start studying this topic, in high school, the state of California did just pass that it is going to mandate high schoolers to take an ethnic studies course. Just one little course, just one is mandatory in order to be able to graduate. Here's the problem. The ethnic studies guide provided by California, it's not mandatory. So again, every teacher is going to have a different way of teaching ethnic studies. And what is ethnic studies? The study of everybody who ain't white. The way in which we talk about curriculum and lesson plans matter. BIPOC, diversity, and the experience of Black Americans are 3 different things. We often sum up everything that is not white as one thing. Y'all are minorities, diversity, inclusion, equity. We take all of it and we put it over here. But our experiences are different. It does not mean there is not connective tissue, okay? Because racism is going racism every time. But it does mean that there should be intentionality when you are talking about Indigenous people in the classroom. Talk about them. When you were talking about Latino people in the classroom, talk about them. Or Latinx people in the classroom, talk about them. When you were talking about women's history in the suffrage movement, do you include men? No. It is a separate group. Black people and our experiences and the celebration of us needs to be separate. We need our own. Now, if you are an excellent educator and parent and you want to do your big one, connect them. There's absolutely connective tissue. Brought over from one continent, brought to another, and that wasn't even their home base. You brought me to somebody else's stuff. There is absolutely connective tissue. But when you are talking about that group of people, do proper due diligence and give light where light is due. Give them the attention. Don't mix it up. This is our colored unit, and we're going to talk about everybody who got some melanin in their skin. No, don't do that. Really focus on what it is you're trying to teach. And this is both educators as well as caregivers, parents, so on and so forth. Somebody asked me, told y'all I've been teaching a long time. That means I've been working with a lot of parents. I've been working with a lot of teachers, a lot of PDs. And somebody asked me, why do we need to celebrate? Why do we need to go like put all of this extra into like celebration of Black history and like Black people and stuff like that? Because we don't have that for white people. We don't have White History Month because it's just called January, February, March. We don't have White Celebration Month because it's just April, May, June. Just the same comments I've gotten for books, right? Like we don't have like white movies because we just have movies. When white is censored as the norm, you have to be intentional about teaching everything else. It's that simple. When we get to a place in this beautiful country that everybody is truly equal, right? When we get there, we don't have to worry about naming it because it will be normalized. You'll walk into a classroom, you'll have books with Latino people, Black people, Asian people, white people. You'll even break it down, Irish and German, Italian. When we get there, we're not there. We are not there, which means you need intentionality. What would your child learn in elementary school in Texas in regards to Black culture, Black history, racism, or slavery? Well, they're not going to learn too much unless you just got a teacher that is passionate. Texas law prohibits, it's against the, you can go to jail, okay? It prohibits teaching that slavery or racism are foundational to U.S. history. There is a law that has passed that as an educator, you cannot teach that racism and slavery are foundational elements to American history. Teachers are restricted from discussing systemic racism or white privilege, which is stated to lead to fear and confusion in classrooms. Fear and confusion for who? Because Black students feel that. They feel the micromanagement, they feel the biasness, they feel the racism, they feel the assumptions. They already have the fear and confusion. Districts attempting to include race-related content have faced investigations and lawsuits. So in California, it's there. They want you to teach it, but it's not mandatory. But in Texas will sue you. They will put you in jail. They will write you up. You will be reprimanded as an educator if you try to teach American history. Remember, this American history. Look, he did a great job on the title, An American Story. This is American history. And if you try to teach that and tell truth about it, there will be consequences. As an educator, as somebody who loves children, white children, purple children, Black, Mexican, wheelchair, walking, standing, I love children. That is the common factor for me, is I genuinely love children. I love students. I love respect for them. I love treating them like they deserve to be treated. I mean, I had somebody tell me last week, Mrs. Burrell, I'm non-binary. I said, what's that? They, them? They were like, yeah. I said, okay, cool. If I mess up, correct me. Let me continue to do my research. Let me continue to try to learn. But if I mess up, correct me. There is beauty in being human. If you don't know, go learn. Okay? How you gonna teach something you don't understand? Be open to hearing from the communities that are around you. Teachers, I am never gonna advise anyone to put their job at risk and their life at risk. But I will say that if you want to teach on this topic, for you to inaccurately represent what has happened in this country, what is happening in this country, for you to belittle it, dwindle it, cover it up, for you to house it in a way that's celebration of Black people when it is not, that is more harmful than you just being quiet. Let me give you an example. My daughter comes home during Black History Month with this sheet that says, I'm laughing not because it's funny. She comes home with a sheet, and the sheet says, Celebrating Black Heroes, Henry Box Brown. The sheet goes on to describe a paragraph of a man who was a slave, and he shipped himself to freedom. And the first question says, what was Henry Box Brown? The obsession with Black pain is so disheartening. So I went and found the resource. This resource is on Teachers Pay Teachers, where educators go to get quick lesson plans and insight, okay? This is what's being utilized to celebrate Black history. Go back to the beginning story of Laura and her birthday party and how it was so ruined by this obsession of her pain. That is what these sheets are. You have all of these colorful worksheets, all of these friendly worksheets, all of these giggity fun time worksheets that completely diminished what actually happened and that center on the pain that we received. The questions say, what do you think Henry Box Brown, which that's not his name. His name is Henry Brown. It refers to him as a slave. He wasn't a slave. He was enslaved. These are some of the questions that are in this worksheet. What do you think Henry Box Brown thought about during his time in a box? How much money did it cost Henry Box Brown to mail himself to freedom? In what state did Henry Box Brown live when he was a slave? There's a scoreboard that's pink and purple. And yellow that says player 1, player 2, player 3. Let's show what you know. There's a centering game. Ooh, child. Educators are taking Black History Month, a month that should be for celebrating. There were so many options. There were so many options of things, of people you could have displayed. There were so many books, so many movies, so many joyful activities, so many community leaders you could have brought in, so many nonprofit organizations doing the work. This month that you deemed worthy to celebrate and acknowledge, you diminish by highlighting the most painful point, historically speaking, for Black American people, humans. That would be the equivalent of us celebrating Chinese New Year and bringing up the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. It wouldn't even be the equivalent, but I'm not splitting hairs. It would be like going to a bar mitzvah and talking about the Holocaust. You need to humanize Black people. You need to see your Black students as a person who has very real feelings and emotions, that as they're sitting in this class, accepting a lesson that is intended to celebrate them, to bring home their joys, you decide to focus in on them being enslaved. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame. That is shameful. It's shameful. It's inconsiderate. It's unnecessary. Be quiet. If you are not going to do the work to adequately help raise these babies, because as a teacher, that is what you do. You raise children. And if you are not going to do the work, past whatever is mandatory, past whatever is told to you as an educator, if you're not going to do humanitarian work, be quiet. Be quiet. Because you cause pain where it's not necessary. So my daughter comes home with this worksheet. And the worksheet comes from this packet of the celebration of Black history, with no acknowledgement to the wonderful things we have accomplished. This man was a slave, and then he got in a box and he shipped himself to freedom. Woohoo! And then there's a picture of him like, I'm free. I did it, guys. And Henry Brown, amazing. This is not a hit on Henry Brown. But this lesson is not rooted in the beauty of Henry Brown. It is rooted in the pain point of Black people as a result of slavery. This is why I keep saying that they're separate things. And educate yourself. Bring me out for a professional development. See if he's available for a professional development. Find a course that is suitable. Get some books. Do the work. But the reason why I created this channel is because I recognize that people want to do better. Some people genuinely have a heart to do better. The majority of our teachers today in this country are white women. As a Black student, you are extremely likely to have a white woman as your educator. So this is not a topic that Black people need to go learn. It is a topic I need you as an educator to go equip yourself with introducing properly in the correct spaces. If you want to do better, start with literature. There are 2 books that I highly recommend because they address both of the things we're discussing today in very accurate ways, okay? Start with books. One, What Would the World Be Without Black People? The other, An American Story. And there are tons of others. But literature that is intentional about how it shows and represents. Be intentional about the library. Make sure that you normalize Blackness in terms of movies, media, conversations, celebrations. Here are some websites that you can also utilize and check out individually. So the Zen Education Project is a free online resource, and it helps educators, but can also be used for parents to bring in more honest, justice-centered, U.S. history-based education into your classroom or your living room. And the goal is to teach accurate history. So check out the Zen Education Project because they are doing phenomenal work. PBS Kids Black History Specials to be super intentional around sharing and highlighting Black stories. And so I will link some episodes that I think are worth watching. I will link some pages on the PBS Kids website that I think that you should go check out. Then you have Kid Lit in Color. Now, remember I was telling you there's a difference between BIPOC and Blackness. This is BIPOC. So this is specifically for Black, Indigenous people of color. It is to share our stories. There's another resource that you want to look at when it comes to how you want to go about teaching and educating your babies. I will be sending out a newsletter with additional ones. And of course, you can always utilize me as a resource. Drop your questions below. I will try my best to get through them. Contact me, see how I can help. Best practices at home. 1, review materials. Preview what it is you're exposing your child to. The second best practice, if your child is Black, and you might be white with a Black child, if your child is Black, be intentional about celebrating and uplifting them and getting them into spaces that will start to familiarize them with their culture. You got a Black daughter, you don't know how to do hair, go find a traditional Black hair shop, okay? You're in a community, maybe you're not Christian, go find a Black church anyway, connect with those people. What boys and girls clubs are available. So much of what you will hear me say is that you have to love them and raise them to be who they are on purpose. It cannot be a passive process. You're going to have to purposely make sure that your child, even if you're Black parents, understand their beauty, because there is so much fighting against that. So kids now have social media, TVs, kids are saying things at school. When it comes to your children, love them on purpose, teach them on purpose. And I'm so proud of you for getting through this episode, because that is a phenomenal start. All right. When to seek help. When all of these things that you're trying to implement is not working, and you notice your students' self-esteem is going down, you notice your child is not responding well, when to seek help. When you start notice extreme signs of self-hate, and that doesn't mean that they're walking around saying, I hate myself, I hate myself. Children communicate in different ways. When they want to put something on their skin to lighten it, when they want to hide their hair day after day, when they don't want to be seen in public, when they're asking questions like, why are they bad? Why are their people bad? When you are really starting to notice a shift in how they view themselves and their esteem to a point to where it is consistent and harmful. So consistently harmful. It is time to seek help. When you notice your student is starting to hate a group of people, I hate all blank people. They're constantly having these negative preconceived notions around who a person is based on what they look like. It is time to seek help and intervention. That help and intervention might be way of a counselor who can give you referrals. It might be way of a community organization who is local to you. I told you to lock in with your local churches. What people don't understand about churches is a lot of times, even if you're not Christian, even if you're not part of that religious community, the people there, regardless of the reason why, a lot of times have resources to help you. Okay? Churches run food pantries, churches run community gatherings. Churches historically were the place that you go when you need community connection and resources. And so I encourage you to look into what is available, because if you get to this point, it is now past what you are able to help and you need somebody else to step in. Don't wait till it's too late. The suicide rate for children is through the roof, and it's growing. And a lot of that is centered around identity. Common statements that I hear from both children as well as educators as well as parents. My child is white. Do they really need black books? To which I would say, black children read white books all the time. We just don't call them white books. We call them books. So yes, you need stories that center and focus around blackness, black celebration, American history. The answer is yes. The second is I don't see color. Even if you're colorblind, you see features. Okay, they exist. We don't go about this by acting like everybody is the same, because we're not. There is beauty in our differences, but I'm gonna need you to see color. Or like I said, you colorblind, you can't see green, blue, or whatever shades in between. Notice the features, notice the voice, okay? See us. We want to be seen. All right? Okay. The third is we have to get over it. Baby, it's very easy for you to say what you have to get over when you haven't experienced it. Secondly, nobody's waking up every day and stumping around about it, but it is something that has happened and should be acknowledged. And as a result, we should make sure to celebrate the people who have come out of it, who you still use those contributions and those inventions. No more wanting the culture without the people. All right? We're not doing that. Thank you for learning with me. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for joining this community. I am going to ask you before I go to check out the Empathy Library, which is a pay-it-forward initiative, and it is extremely straightforward. As an author, illustrator, and literacy advocate, I created a program called the Empathy Library. You buy a book, it goes to a child that needs it. You donate, they get. I love it. So yeah, there's that, the Empathy Library. Enjoy the moment, or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.